Today's episode is brought to you by Diag Partners, staffing and recruiting that moves at the speed of your business. Diagpartners.com. Welcome back to In the Harbor. I'm your host, Jason Johns, joined by my co-host, Sean Richland.
Well, Jason, great to be here with you today. Another great podcast episode. We've had a lot of interesting guests on this show, but Susan might have one of the most unique career paths we've seen.
I think that's right. Most people who become known for AI today started in software or technology. Susan took a very different route.
Yeah, she started by leading international teams for one of the world's largest telecom companies, then left the corporate world and helped grow a plumbing and heating business into an Inc. 5000 company.
And somewhere along the way, she became fascinated with artificial intelligence, wrote a book on the topic, and now spends her time helping business owners understand how to use AI to drive actual results.
That's what I'm excited to dig in today. It's a big question, right? There's a lot of noise around AI, but very few people who have actually built and scaled a business and can explain where this technology creates real value in the business.
Susan Frew, welcome to In the Harbor.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Happy Monday, everyone.
And, you know, I think we should start at the beginning, because when people hear you speak about AI today, they probably assume that you've spent your entire career in the technology industry, but your path is anything but conventional. So walk us through that journey from school to corporate America, entrepreneurship, and ultimately becoming one of the leading voices helping businesses navigate AI.
Well, I think I've always been an entrepreneur. Actually, years and years and years ago, I started a company where we did aerobics on the beach in New Jersey. And guess what it was called? Beach Bodies. So like, had I kind of held on to that name, it probably would have been, a great deal for me now, right? Looking back at it. But I have always been really fascinated with doing your own thing. And I actually went to school for culinary.
Wow.
I was going to be a chef and own a restaurant and all the things, and that never ended up panning out. However, then I really became fascinated with business, and I was a good natural salesperson. So that sort of got me to AT&T Wireless, and in New York City. So I lived in New York City for many years, and I worked for AT&T Wireless there. I was transferred to Denver, and then I was on an international assignment for them as we were building out all of our Caribbean markets. So I lived half in Grenada and half in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and I'd go back and forth. And when I came back to the US, I bought a business coaching franchise. And through that, I met my husband, and then that's how the plumbing and heating came about. But while a lot of people think that is such a huge detour, I was still teaching when I started speaking again, with the business coaching firm. I was speaking about technology. And then I was just getting asked by plumbing associations, heating associations to come and talk about how did I build my own website? How did I do marketing? How do I get reviews? How do I get everybody on iPads? So it was still very tech driven. And I understand how the tech works, having supervised it for so long. But, my educational journey was all over the place, and my career was all over the place. But the fact remains, I love technology, and I always have. So that's sort of how I ended up here.
So I think in that lens, too, from the technology standpoint, let's talk a little bit about scaling kind of Sunshine Home Services and what that looked like.
Yeah, well, my husband ended up, so we started Sunshine Home Services. We were originally Sunshine Plumbing, Heating, Air. And it was just my husband and a few subcontractors. And we just started deploying a really different way of doing business. We captured every single email address. We used all kinds of technology. We got everybody on iPads right away. And we grew to an Inc. 5000 list company. We ended up receiving 43 industry awards, but I was still doing other work. I was still coaching and speaking on the side. So I was doing two businesses at once, and it got to be a lot. And we had an embezzlement, which sent us really reeling for a while. And then my husband ended up getting really, really sick close to 3 years ago now. And that is how we ended up using the AI implementation. Our business was not ready to sell. It was just not in a place that was ready to get any kind of value. And we ended up AIing everything. So I AI'd the answering service, I AI'd part of the bookkeeping, I AI'd a lot of the marketing, and we were able to get it to a place where we could sell it. And so that's exactly what I was started teaching people, like how I did it. And that became very popular because a lot of AI speakers talk a lot about what it is, what it's going to do, but not exactly step by step. So I think that's where, my career ended up being really successful because I'm showing people how to use it because I did it myself. And my husband now works for the new company 3 days a week. He loves it. He's got some other side projects that he's doing that he loves. And, our relationship is better. I love what I'm doing. He loves what he's doing. And, it's all thanks to the technology, or we wouldn't have had the ability to do that.
I mean, that's a great story because most speakers, I have to imagine, are talking about something conceptually rather than very hands-on, and this is how I did it, which naturally is going to perform better.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the feedback that I get when people do the feedback survey at the end of a talk. They're like, you're the only person who actually was using this stuff in a real business. And that's why I think it's so much fun, because I'm able to show people. And I also, having been a business coach, and when I was with those two Caribbean properties with AT&T Wireless, we ran those like individual smaller businesses, right? So our combined budgets for both countries was like $20 million, but they still ran like an independent company. So, and the thing that you learn from that, and when having coached, 1,500 people or something, you learn how business flow works. And that's the key. Everybody thinks AI is about the technology. It's not. It's about the workflow, right? Like, how are you going to incorporate the AI into your workflow? Not like, let's buy some AI and shove it in all the corners of our company and make our employees use it, and nothing happens. And that's the big frustration.
Susan, your experience with working with companies, did that help you figure out the pain points and then implement them into what eventually became a successful transition?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, I think that people are not looking at their companies in the right way right now. I think that
Do tell.
Well, I think this is what's happening. I think that a lot of business leaders are learning that they should get AIs. Everyone's telling them, and you can't go on social media or open up a newsletter or anything and not see something about AI. And everybody's like, we better get going with this and let's bring it on. But number one, a lot of people are not involving their employees in these discussions. So that's creating a lot of fear and concern by the employees. Like, what are they doing behind closed doors? And is this AI going to take my job? Instead of engaging everyone and understanding their part in the workflow of the organization and how they can amplify what they're doing, amplify their efforts, and delegate all of the minutia to the AI and make them free to be doing more revenue generating tasks and more important work, building relationships.
And it's not an uncommon problem. I mean, lack of communication has been an issue with business forever. So it's just around AI. It's an old problem in a new framing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I imagine it gets slightly scary in certain roles of certain businesses where it could be manufacturing or mobility or the robotics. That part of it I can see, but more. Are you describing more of like inside of the C-suite down, or how do you envision the amplify?
Well, I think C-suite down is going to be really important, because if the leadership is not embracing the technology and not really spending the time to evaluate on how it can be helpful to the organization, how they can use it, how they can get their employees engaged. I do think, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this, I do think there will be some layoffs, but I think the key is going to be in AI literacy. So if the C-suite is agreeing to bring AI in, they also need to agree to the training and the plan and what they're looking to accomplish. And I think there's going to be a lot of employees are going to step up, they're going to reskill, they're going to retool, going to get engaged. They'll become the leaders in their departments. But by walling that off, I think they're going to have big employee problems coming.
And I would say with the AI literacy side, like you think about students coming out of college right now compared to students who graduated, call it 5 to 10 years ago, they should in theory have a huge leg up on their predecessors.
I guess it depends on if their school embraced it or not. I mean, a lot of schools aren't embracing it, right?
No, you're right, Sean, because I do some virtual programs, or I'll be brought in for with somebody else if they want to talk a little bit about AI and another topic. And we've done a fair amount of colleges, and the administrative staff and some of the teachers are not on board. And the entry-level jobs are down 14%. That's where it just came out. And that's where AI is going to hit the hardest in these entry-level jobs, research assistants, of people helping with marketing, because those are some of the low-hanging fruit that AI does really well. Like, I can teach myself to be a researcher in, a day of training and learn how to do that job, and I can automate it. So I think that a lot of, but the younger people, I don't know if you've experienced this, they're the ones who don't want the AI. That they don't like it. They're sort of protesting it about it.
Well, you've seen the boos at the commencement speeches.
Yeah.
When they talk about AI, which is interesting.
Well, it's happened to me.
Don't you think that perhaps one of the biggest industries that could be in serious trouble is education? When you look at what they provide is knowledge, and now knowledge is going to be provided at a different level.
Yeah, and here's the other part, customization. So now you have the ability to go out and learn on your own things that are going to be important to you in your career. And it's going to be customized to who you are as a learner, who you are as a person, what your career path looks like. And you can all do it. You can do it all by sitting at your desk and, learning on your own. If you're a self-learner, I still think there would be a lot, but I do think higher education needs to get on board quickly.
For sure. I couldn't agree more. The one thing I will say, though, if I put something into any of the systems that are out there and on something that I really know, for example, college hockey, if we have a college hockey discussion, it is so far off and wrong, it's ridiculous. So there's some work to be done, of course, but maybe in the next 3 to 5 years, it'll have it all figured out.
Sean, need I remind you who won the college playoff hockey bracket in the office?
Yeah, it was you. But but that has nothing to do with the statistics and everything else that goes into it. Anyways, I digress.
Well, I did use AI to pick the Kentucky Derby winner, so you never know. It can be done.
Did you pick the correct one?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I know, and that was such a long shot too, right?
Hopefully you bet on it.
Well, yeah, with the Rotary Club.
All right, so yeah, that's fair. How most of us bet on it.
I think I won a bottle of wine or something.
Hey, a win's a win.
I completely agree. So we had on the educational front, we had 3 interns that were high school seniors this year. And I was asking them about how they use any of the tools out there. And they don't use any of them.
Really?
It's like the school has scared them to death. And I talked to them about so many resources where you can create study guides on a particular topic to help you learn rather than just copy and pasting answers.
Right.
It's helping you learn.
Yeah. It's a big advantage that I think the school maybe missed on that one. But again, I'm not the educator.
But one of the things too is the environmental concerns. So, yes, there's that, and that is a legitimate concern. But, as we continue to follow the news, that may not be a challenging 10 years from now, because they may be in space or something. So that's one. And they're stealing the 14% of entry-level jobs. But that doesn't mean that you can't learn. You're going to be left behind. And there's a way for you to incorporate whatever work you want to do and use an AI slant to it to make it better.
I would agree. And on that entry-level job concern, though, one thing, I was talking to a local attorney, and they were saying that now with a lot of the kind of tedious kind of man-hour work that junior associates are doing, they're hiring less junior associates.
And that's why the entry-level jobs are down 14%.
And that's a huge training ground, though. If you don't have those entry-level junior associates, then how do you have the whole progression into senior partner?
Well, you know what? I think that if you were an entry-level person in law, that I would come to the interview, or I would try to reach out to the owners of some of these bigger firms and be like, hey, I am a legal AI expert. And I have been studying this in school alongside with my regular curriculum. And now I'm going to come in and be able to help you to modernize your organization and to implement some AI efficiencies and things to help your company grow. So, I mean, I think that's got to be the narrative, that young people are going to need to have to show up with whatever that job title was, but with the AI literacy on top of it.
Yeah, it's all about positioning yourself.
Makes sense to me. That's a perfect explanation, I think, for the young graduates that are out there listening in the harbor. You got it here. That's what you do.
So, and if we go back to how you began implementing AI, so it was basically, it was a need that you and your husband had to make the company more efficient. How did that kind of transition to the real business? And was it very much just learning as you went, or?
Well, so this is what we did first. And I have taken clients through this, in large groups and on-site groups. I always say with the going old school to go new school. So everyone getting around the table and like looking at all of your different functional areas. Make those flip chart paper all around the room. And now if we're going to be talking about modernizing the marketing department, say, we didn't have a big marketing department. That was me, basically. But we get whoever has a part in that process around the table. And then we start identifying all of the tasks under that heading. And then what are some of the things that we're paying a lot of money for, things that we're not really seeing ROI. Then now let's move over to operations. Now let's move over to field. Let's move over to inventory. So that's how we did it. Like, we just evaluated all the different areas and found the tasks that could be delegated to AI, or we could find an AI solution. And one of the big ones was an answering service, because we had a live answering service 24 hours. And it's expensive. So we found a company that had an AI answering service solution. And it wasn't perfect. This was, 3 years ago, which is, way back when.
Yeah, right.
And it was so good, and it kept getting better, and it was learning. And it was very, very intuitive. And so that saved $2,000 a month. So those are some of the things that we were able to automate. We also realized that with search engine optimization, that, it changes now, right? It's not the way it used to be. And for trade companies, home services of any kind, that's their biggest expense, because most of us would do pay-per-click advertising. And it doesn't always work. So AI has a great impact on that, on how do you use that, use the technology to get yourself found online.
Well, and now you have people trying to optimize how they're found through the large language models.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There was a storm that came through. I had a problem with my roof. So then I basically took a picture of the shingles and what needed to be replaced and asked who's the best roofer in the area.
Was that an advertising thing, or is that a...
I don't know how they found it, but I called the first one on the list. It was local. Mm-hmm. And they showed up the next day, fixed the roof.
Sean, from a technical perspective, this is how they did it. So the new word and the new way in marketing is answer engine optimization, right? So the way that the AI search engines find you is like in a question and answer. So taking like, remember, keywords were like the big buzz for the longest time, but now it's Q&A. Like, what would people be asking and how are you answering that? And companies who want to be found in the search engine process need to have really strong answer engine optimization out there. Also, authority is really key. So if you write blog posts, you've been published in magazines, all that, the more of that you can pump out, the better. And like, where can you get your blog? So those things will then help you to get found in the search engines. Like for me, I started doing that stuff early on because I learned it. And I would say 25% of my speaking engagements come from somebody searching me on the AI engines.
And we want to take a second to thank our sponsor, Diag Partners. And look, we only work with sponsors we actually believe in. And this one's personal. We've used Diag directly at Rock Harbor. If you're running a company and have a seat to fill, or you're a professional thinking about your next pivot, these are the people you want in your corner. Placements from analysts to executives done with speed and discretion. Check them out at diagpartners.com.
So walk me through that. So I go on to Chat or Claude or whatever the vehicle is, and I type in looking for AI expert in business, and your blogs pop up, or is that how this works?
Yeah. Well, yeah, or it will point to me. So I get a lot of people tell me that they found me on Perplexity. They found me on like all of them. And I didn't do anything specifically to list myself there. I just have good social proof and good authority levels out there. So I get found pretty easily on the different engines. And now what's starting to happen too is people are more and more using AI browsers. So I use a open AI browser a lot called Atlas. And then Perplexity has their own browser. Chrome has Gemini built into it. Claude sits as a browser on Chrome. So it's not really a browser, but it's an extension. So.
And now you have all these, these widgets you can add to your like Microsoft Office tools as well with a lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah, you can integrate the integration. So I think that's where you're going to see a lot of movement in this next year. And something interesting, this week, Microsoft's going to have their annual convention where they launch everything. So we're going to see a lot of things coming out about that. Claude had one recently. Google just had theirs this last 2 weeks. So you'll start to see a lot more upgrades and a lot more integrations. And then, OpenAI is already selling ads on their free version of ChatGPT. So you're going to see a little bit of that too. Google, of course, is always trying to keep their hold on that market. They still have it, but they're integrating now AI into their browsers, especially on the mobile version. So you'll start to see more of that as well.
And, one thing I would think of just from using all of these tools and thinking about you and talking about AI and how to get the most out of it, how do you stay on top of all of this? Like the change is so fast. And one day, everyone's using ChatGPT. The next day it's Claude. And
well, Diet Coke is really
lots
and lots of Diet Coke. You know what? It's exhausting, Jason. It is. Sometimes it's overwhelming for me too, and I really have decided that I can't learn everything every single week. I was spending like between 8 and 10 hours a week learning. Now what I do, which I think is just as important as listening and reading, is I do lab days for myself. So I will block myself off full lab days for 8 hours, and I will just spend that looking at new things that I've heard about, and I keep sort of a repository of things and newsletters and updates and what have you, and then I'll pick a few tools and I'll start teaching myself how to use them. Some of them I already know how they would work, so and then managing all the subscriptions. that goes along with all of that. But I listen to a lot of podcasters. There's people I follow. I follow some amazing researchers and industry people, and just really try to keep up that way. But it's impossible for one person to actually keep on top of everything.
And I think it helps to have your hands in it. So you're not just talking about it, you're using it in your everyday business still to this day when you think about kind of speaking engagements, setting everything up. I think your bookkeeping, you do all.
Yeah, I do my bookkeeping, which I'm about to do because it's now June 1st. So we're going to close out May. And I will use Claude as my bookkeeper. It will categorize all the transactions. It will do the bank reconciliation. What I had it do this morning is I had it evaluate my bank statement from last month and tell me about all the subscription issues that I have, duplicates, what subscriptions I have, what am I paying for? Sometimes you do a trial of something and now all of a sudden, you've got a subscription.
Right. The free window runs out and then it's automatically billed.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. That's really interesting. There is now a new position coming into corporate America called the subscription management department. Because, just like, you may have individually, think about this. Like if you want to roll out Microsoft Copilot to your big corporation, it's $35 a month per seat. Yeah. Right. So think about how much money that is. And if, only a third of the people are using it, well, don't give it to the departments that don't need it. And, that's just going to be ever shifting, and a lot of people now have moved from OpenAI to Anthropic, and they would, so then there's people doing that. It definitely is a lot of work to keep it straight.
Right, and we have an IPO race going on, I think, as of today.
They announced it, yeah.
They do. Yeah, and I think that my prediction, OpenAI, Chat, and Claude, and then SpaceX are all going to go really soon. That's what I think. But I don't know. I'm not a financial person. I'm just a person who listens to a lot of news on AI.
Yeah, they certainly are going to be creating a lot of wealth for a lot of people that work inside of those organizations, and it's great to see for our country. It's great. I had a question on, in 5 years, if you're a business owner, what are you going to look back on and think, darn it, I should have done this a long time ago? What's the one thing that every business owner should implement? Let's just say a small to medium-sized company.
Well, I think that when I speak to a lot of audiences, I now do a survey for probably 95% of my speaking engagements. I tell the meeting planners it's a non-negotiable. And I want to know upfront going in what people are thinking, feeling, what they're using, what's on the horizon, what's their number one barrier to AI implementation. The biggest barrier is I don't know where to start. And then, what thing would you want to automate that would make the biggest difference in your life? And it's email management, managing their inbox.
Sure.
So I think that people, are getting on board with that right away. And now you're taking these two big monotonous tasks off your plate. It gives you the ability to go out and be the best human you can be and do your zone of genius. So maybe that's business development or relationship building or strategy sessions and things like that. I think that if they look back, be like, I should have got on board faster. There could have been a lot of things we could have automated. I think that, I should have paid more attention to the trends. And I think that there's going to be, I also think this is going to happen. There's going to be a competitive disparity. Because if you are selling donuts and your neighbor across the street sells donuts, but the neighbor across the street automates all their marketing, all their bookkeeping, they find new markets because they're able to do all this deep research. They're able to do a faster, better job than you. Then now the pricing is going to be off because now their cost of product production is going to be lower than yours. So then how do you compete on that? And that's going to be something that's big in manufacturing. I've spoken to and worked with a number of manufacturing firms, and that's really what they're looking at. how they need to reduce their costs because their competitors are doing it too.
I think that's absolutely true. And the other, somebody test driving some of the AIs out there, I think they likely fall short on prompting.
Yes.
And that's probably where people need the most help.
I agree. And it's funny because I watch someone that I know do that all the time, just like treating the AI like Google. And I'm like, that is like you have a Ferrari in the driveway and you're driving it like a Ford Escort. Like you need to, learn how to drive this thing and you're going to get these massive results. But, I get incredible results that people are like, how did you do that? Like, well, I learned how to prompt. And that's huge.
Maybe you have to ask AI, how do I prompt? Like, I'm sure it'll help you if you have some issues with it.
Well, you can.
Right?
And it will.
It will,
Yeah.
right? It's just take care of you. So we've already solved the problem.
Yeah, you just got to get used to asking it everything.
Yeah,
So,
right.
Well, it's awkward, right? The best way to prompt is, you give it a role, like acting as a master marketer or acting as a top CFO. I want you to do these 5 things and I want you to analyze it. And this is what I want the output to be. So people who don't speak in detail or think in detail struggle a little bit because it's awkward, right? Like they're big stroke folks. People who know detail, that's the way they live, like an engineering type brain, very linear thinkers, step by step, they have the best success. But there's definitely a way to learn. So you're not out yet, folks. If you're not prompting right, like there's hope for you.
yeah, no details too small.
Exactly.
I would be curious, since you talk to a lot of businesses, if you walked into a business tomorrow for 30 days, what would be the first 3 things you would try and make more efficient?
Well, first of all, first day, I would interview every department head or as many employees as I can and understand where their friction is, where their problems, bottlenecks, issues, and that is step 1. Then I would start looking at, what subscriptions they have built in already, what are they using, what are they not using. And after those interviews, I'm going to be able to identify like a huge list of things that are not working. And then I'm going to be able to look at that list, put them in buckets by, accounting, marketing, operations, sales, whatever that looks like. And then I'll be able to start automating them. I would take probably 1 from each column to begin with, and then start getting an impact and take a really high impact one first. So people in the organizations can see some movement. So teaching them how to manage their inbox with AI, teaching them how to do their weekly newsletter, which is a hassle, but it's necessary. How do you, manage customer flow? How do you handle your communication strategy? So those are some of the things first, and then we'd start digging into, what are some bigger impacts, which could be a little bit longer to implement because we have to do step 1 through 8 before we actually implement it.
That's a great way to look at it. I always think in our business, we have a CRM with, I don't know how many names it is right now, but it's probably 60, 70,000 names in it. And I feel like the CRM world is a little bit behind in not only utilizing AI, but also what you feel like it should be able to do. What's your thought on in that space as well, and what the future might hold?
Well, so I use a Zoho CRM, which is one of the biggest CRMs actually in the world. Not as much popularity in the US as it is elsewhere, but it has 1 million bolt-ons. It's like HubSpot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they have 1 million things that you can feed into there, and it gets really overwhelming. But I think that the CRM providers are stepping up and they're starting to add things. They're in danger though too. If they don't have a really big customer base, you could have essentially teach the AI to do a lot of things that the CRM does. But what I've been using AI for in the CRM, regardless of which one you have, is the analytics. So, I mean, you've got all this data in there that you've been capturing for the last 20 years. So now you can take the AI, and for this, I use Claude on a browser, and I'll open up my CRM and I'll let Claude in agent mode sort of take over my desktop, and I'll watch it. And I will start asking it questions about predictability, clients that may, based on previous behavior, what can I expect? What's a good newsletter I think that these people will want? What are some people that we should follow up on? What are the behaviors of the people who are reading my newsletter? Like what's going on with them? Like they keep clicking and they keep opening, and like what's going on with these folks? Are they in a position to hire us for something? Or there's so much data that you can do with the CRM environment. But one thing I think every business owner, business leader, C-suite needs to be mindful of this. All of the AIs now give you the ability to connect to things, right? So I've got Claude, I've got ChatGPT, I've got Grok, all loosely connected to my Zoho, which is great because I can go back and forth, analyze things, review things, create things, and that's great. But what if your employees are doing that without your permission? What if they come up with like, wow, I can do the annual budget by looking back the last 10 years of data that's in my OneDrive, and I can do it here and turn it into the boss and look like a superstar. Well, what if the boss hadn't given them a Copilot subscription? What if they're doing this on their personal account? And now they're connecting their personal ChatGPT to your OneDrive with all your company information in it. It's a huge security risk. So hopefully I gave you a really roundabout answer to that, Sean, but I think it's important for people to think about it that way too.
Well, I think it makes a ton of sense inside the CRM, and the security risks do concern me for sure. We have not implemented an agent here yet for those reasons. And I think it has to stay within a certain group of folks if you're going to do that as a company that you're confident that can do it. But again, how do you stop somebody from doing that? Like, what's the process to do that? There has to be some sort of measures that you can turn on inside the CRM. I don't know.
Well, there are. So here's how you would do that. So number one, people should all, if you're in business, you should have an AI policy. So you are telling your employees what they can and cannot use, what they can use it on, what they can't, so on and so forth. Then if you have enough people in your organization, have an AI committee. These are the people who would help choose projects of things that you would want to automate, things that safety and security wise, who do we need to bring into this? Making sure you do have the IT department involved in those conversations. So, and they may not be the most literate in all of the AIs, but they are literate in security. So you need to, bring these people to the table and decide. Now, if you think that there's rampant misuse in your organization where your employees are using free AI tools, which are not private at all, there's no security on them, you can essentially, you can lock down your campus. So if you only want people to use Microsoft Copilot, and that's the approved one, you can lock them out of those other websites. So when they're on duty at your facility, then they wouldn't be able to use it. I mean, that's kind of drastic, but I think that's important for a lot of organizations, a lot of industries to do that.
So we were talking about fearfulness of AI replacing jobs, and we just created new jobs that didn't exist before when we think of the AI committee and AI policy head.
Yeah, and the subscription manager.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to hire that guy because Claude just yelled at me earlier today about my subscription abuse of last month.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm off budget. I got in trouble.
I've heard horror stories there was just a news article that came out of a company that had rampant AI usage, but no policy around it. And it ended up costing them quite a pretty penny in token usage.
Yes. And that has happened because, it's really interesting. The token usage is really fuzzy. And I'll give you a quick example. I was the keynote speaker for the International Nannies Association. And I built them this app just as a show and tell. And what I found out, their biggest pain point, their biggest friction is that parents didn't give them enough training or information, like on little things that would happen around the house when they weren't there. And they had to constantly be texting the parents, which the parents, in the middle of work or flying somewhere or what have you, couldn't respond quick enough. So I created this 150 questionnaire process that the parents could answer those 150 questions. And then the app, the nanny could ask the app. The app's called Nanny Knows. Okay. And it says, where's the EpiPen? Does Johnny have any allergies? Are we allowed to go to the pool on Tuesdays? Like whatever it is. And it will go back and forth. But I did not wall that off. I let them use the beta and the demo. And all of a sudden I got a big giant bill from Google because I built it on the Google Studio platform on tokens. And it's hard to decide like how much those tokens are going to cost because you don't know how long somebody's going to use it.
Circling back to our sponsor, Diag Partners. Given everything we've been talking about today, you understand why having the right people matters. That's exactly what Diag does. We've seen it firsthand at Rock Harbor. They move fast, they're selective, and they get it right. Whether you're hiring or looking, don't leave it to chance. Visit diagpartners.com.
Right? Like somebody might get on and ask one question. Somebody might be like, hammering it all night trying to figure out if it works or not. So, yeah, you're right. The token bill is going to be a doozy pretty soon.
So you almost need a budget officer to manage token spend and
another job.
Audit. And we got another job. We just keep creating them.
Yeah, look at us. We have solved the world's problems in 1 hour here.
Look at that. Now, I do want to bring up your book, Recoded. And I'm curious if somebody who is maybe reluctant or hesitant to use AI, what do you want them to come away from Recoded with?
What I want them to come away with is that the AI is here. Whether you're like on board or not, it's not going to stop. It's not going to go away. It's not going to, people aren't going to like do a few marches in the streets, so they're going to end AI. It's not happening. It is a part of our society now. It is a part of our world. This is our future. This is the industrial revolution of our time. So I would encourage everyone to at least find a way to start using it. And, you can start using it in really easy, basic ways. And then you can start adding more and more and more. And the step-by-step is always evaluate your workflow first. Find the frictions and fix it with AI. And then find the best use of your time that only you, as the good human that you are, can do.
I like that. That's a good takeaway.
Best use of your time. I'm sure we could find some other things to do, Jay, right?
Yep. Now, something we tell ourselves here in the office every day, because we're in the face-to-face people business, is that with AI advancements, the face-to-face interaction and human-to-human communication is going to be ever more important. Would you agree with that sentiment, or?
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think that personalization is going to be key, and this is what AI does extremely well. So I came up with this program that is a way to take my conversations from Zoom calls or Teams calls or whatever it is. And so maybe we're doing a discovery call. They're thinking about hiring me, they're thinking about doing business with you, whatever that looks like. And instead of just like looking at your meeting notes to try to like throw them in your CRM, actually using that transcript, the whole transcript, so that when you create your proposal for that client, it is highly customized based on what they said. And another thing that's, sometimes maybe you're making a presentation to 4 or 5 people and they're all on a Zoom or Teams call. Like you can't really keep your eyes on everyone, right? Like you can't really see like, what's this guy doing while you're talking about that? And what did they say? And it's difficult to capture all of that. Google AI Studio and several others will analyze the actual video and give you fodder. Like, this is the important things that came out of that. This is so-and-so's body language. This one was really checked out when you were talking about that. And then that will help you to create a super personalized, hyper personalized presentation that you can then give back to them. And the results of that are amazing. Like, people want to be heard. They want to be seen. Nothing changes on that. But now the AI is going to help you to be more human, to be more personalized, and really understand the needs of your customer. So, which others won't, because they're going to give them canned stuff. Now you're going to give them personalized service that they can't get anywhere else.
I haven't thought of that, because I've used some of the notes just to help me kind of compile my thoughts from a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But having somebody watch the cameras, using it to watch the actual body language, that's...
Well, she said she created it.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah, me and Google together, you know.
That's really a great idea. I mean, we always talk about making things more personable and also making it real to the individual you're talking to, where it's not something that is so canned. To have the ability to construct that in a fashion that covers lots of numbers, not just the amount of people we can talk to, and see it's more involved. Because how many Zoom calls do we do a week? I mean, we got to be in the not in the minority of companies.
Right. Absolutely.
It's a huge opportunity out there.
So I've been teaching just that to people, how to do this proposal that I'm doing. And it's been a winner for me and other people that are using it, because now you're using the AI tools and making it super customized. You can then also save in there, you know, so I have it now proposal set up, and I use like 4 or 5 different AIs for it. But I just keep the instructions, which are called, you know, now they're calling them markdown files. You're calling them skills, what have you. So skills equal instructions. You put all the instructions in there so you get the same output on your end. So if there's certain things you want to go in every proposal, then just save it in advance. And now you've saved yourself a lot of time.
So to me, that's really important, that you have to be able to do this. And with current people you're working with, have you found any systems out there or developed anything for prospecting, for example, or utilizing your current network to grow your network for businesses, especially young businesses that are just starting out? Or I think in our world, financial advisors, they're always prospecting clients and looking for more. What would be a tool to utilize or in business to be successful there?
Well, I think people really miss the deep research features in all of the AI. So in the large language models, deep research on ChatGPT, on Google Gemini, on Microsoft Copilot, like, everyone skips over that deep research field there. And then going back to like getting a really awesome prompt, you would tell it, like, acting as a top marketer for financial services, I want you to create a formula or create a plan for me to go and prospect all the people who live on the south side of Main Street, or whatever that looks like, whatever your demographic is. You can also, this is where the analyzing your CRM comes in. If you analyze your entire database of clients, what do they all have in common? You know, is it a certain age? Is it a certain town that they live in? Is it a certain vocation? Like, who's your best client? And then you can have, once you have that information about, you know, analyzing it, what do you have? Then you can get it to go out and get you great prospect lists, like mind-blowing ones that you would, and then you can ask it to create a marketing plan. Right now, I have my marketing calendar completely automated with Claude. So every single month by the 30th, I get a massive marketing calendar sent to my email. I'll get a notification that it's ready, and I will go in there and it will tell me. So I have it broken out: Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, and X, right? So those are all the places I'm going to post. And then it will tell me the actual things to do. So we're going to do a carousel. We're going to do a standard post. We're going to do a video. We're going to do all these things. And these are the times that you're going to post them and what day. So it gets that granular to exactly where you're going to post And then for me, I have someone overseas actually do the postings. You could automate that. And I know how to automate it, but this is an example of human in the loop because you want to be able to see that stuff before it actually goes.
Right.
Right.
You know,
Have some eyes on it.
Yeah, you got to supervise it. So I found somebody, a person who has really good marketing skills. They were referred to me by another speaker friend. And, so this person just does the execution. So it saved me a massive time, but my results are going up, up, up every single week. When I look at them, it's getting better and better. And same thing with my newsletter.
Well, these are real actionable items that people can use tomorrow.
We can use them tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, this is phenomenal stuff. I really appreciate you sharing this with our audience, especially because there's a lot of folks in our world that we deal with that have a million things going on in their day that are minutia that aren't helping them grow their business, but they are necessary for their business to be sustained. And doing all the marketing can take a ridiculous amount of time. To have a set schedule on that and have the plan, as well as being able to figure out who to go after, is phenomenal.
Yeah, and the cool thing is it tells you the time. So it evaluates each month, and I trained, I in my instructions, in my, the way I built it in the skills, I let it know that I wanted it to evaluate the algorithms, because the algorithms of like LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram change all the time. And, unless marketing is your business and you live, eat and breathe marketing, you're going to miss them. So why should you be worrying that,
Right. And it's a lot of work too. And there's no way to keep track of how quickly they're changing and what optimal times would be for your designated audience.
Yep. And when should you do a carousel? And when should you do posts? And when should you, all the things. And another cool thing about that too is, LinkedIn has an export feature, which a lot of people don't realize that it's there. You can export all your data out of LinkedIn, and you can have the AI evaluate it to kind of understand like who you're connected with, who's looking at your profile, and if you do also that target demographic work in advance, you can use that inside of LinkedIn to help you to understand who your target demographic is.
Oh, that's fascinating.
There you go, Jason. I feel like another project for you.
Susan's just giving me a lot of homework. Well, we like to end these shows. I know we've taken a lot of your time, but we do a rapid fire segment, which is it's usually pretty fun. So feel free to be as brief or as verbose as you'd like.
Okay.
But favorite AI tool right now?
I have a tie. It would be Claude or Notebook LM by Google.
I like Notebook LM too. It's amazing what that thing can spit out.
Well, I know, I guess we're not rapid fire anymore, but thinking about the high school interns in particular that don't use any, like the Notebook LM would be a huge study advantage for them.
It's amazing. Mm-hmm. First time I used it, I couldn't believe it. Okay, I'm going to go back to rapid fire here. One thing leaders should automate today?
Their email overload.
Yeah, that we covered that one. I feel like I was a bit of a layup. I'm going again, Jason.
Okay.
Best book you've read recently, besides your own?
Gosh, it's been a while. I have to say, oh my goodness, because I'm so on the fly all the time. But the AI-driven leader. So I saw this gentleman speak at a conference last year, and I got his book, and it's really great.
Okay, that's everyone. I would think leaders should do that. Read that book.
I would agree. I'll order you a copy. Biggest AI myth you're tired of hearing?
That is instant. That you're going to get AI, then all of a sudden everything's going to be automated like that.
Yeah, wave of the wand, life has changed.
Wait, isn't that what we just did here? Doesn't work that way. All right, boldest prediction for businesses that utilize AI in 5 years.
Oh my gosh. I don't think business is going to look the same as it does right now. I think that it's going to evolve something that we can't even imagine where it's going. But I do think that people are going to need to do a lot of work to keep themselves trained, updated, and emerging, because it's going to continue to go in that direction.
All right, excellent. Now, where can our listeners find you? SusanFrewSpeaks.com. You also
Yes.
have your LinkedIn newsletter.
Yes. My LinkedIn newsletter comes out for some people on Wednesdays, some people on Thursdays. And it's always, I get really good feedback from that. So stay tuned. I will give you updates of things you need to know. And on any of the social channels, it's at Susan Frew Speaks on all of them.
All right, and I'll look to tag some of those when we publish this episode. Any upcoming speaking engagements or projects you're really excited about?
I know that I have 22 more speaking engagements already booked for this year. So that will keep me a little busy, and I'll probably get several more on-site consulting. I do have a 6-session new cohort that I just created. So I did the test model, 6 sessions built for businesses. We will come on and we will teach your team how to use AI in your organization in 6 sessions, and then, at least kickstart you. So that's really what it's built for, is to get, you and your organization up to speed really fast. And we already have it in the can, so ready to implement at any time.
And I think that's one of those things. The first step is always the hardest.
Sure, yeah. What a great consulting case to offer people. And this is something that they'll see immediate benefit from.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Susan, we really appreciate the time. I know I have a ton of notes in front of me. I'm probably going to have to bury my head in the sand to look into some of your
you can analyze
wisdom.
this video. You can analyze this video in Google AI Studio, and it will tell you all the things you need to know.
That's perfect. That'll be our first beta case.
Thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.